Hello gamers, Tom Seidner.
Nick Jones with Titan Games.
And today we're going to do another featured games, and Nick has managed to pick out 3 games that I've never played, so I think he did that on purpose.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with a Game of Thrones Catan, and I have played Catan, though.
I figured we'd give you the week off this time,
Okay.
Tom. So Game of Thrones Catan just came out a week or so ago. I got to play it at Gen Con, really enjoyed it. I was a little concerned that, you know, they were just pasting a theme onto Catan and we'll see what happens. But they did a really good job of using the core Catan mechanic of gathering resources, but then you're doing almost completely different things with it. As you're building your settlements and cities to earn victory points, you also have to send guys to the wall to protect us from the wildlings coming through. So it's more like Season 1, the first book or two, really, that things are taking place. But they have completely different development cards, obviously, and you get victory points for helping to defend the wall and assigning guys up there. And if you don't assign guys to the right parts of the wall, all of a sudden you got wildlings pouring in and knocking out your resources so you can't gather them anymore, which makes it pretty interesting. But I really liked the small tweaks they made. It definitely plays a little bit like Catan because you have that resource generation mechanic that's the same as in Catan, but what you're doing with the resources is a little bit different, a little more spread out, almost more like the Cities and Knights, where you are building cities and you are building settlements, but you're also doing a lot of other things at the same time.
I have played the Star Trek Catan, and in that you have a character that you play. Do you play a character in this like you do in that?
So each character has a special ability as well.
Okay, cool.
So they're all going to play a little bit differently. You all have a slightly different advantage. That's one of the other big differences.
Yeah.
It also has a ton of little miniatures too for all the wildlings, and there's some giants miniatures and stuff. So it's pretty neat.
Now this does this have a modular board as well, like regular Catan, where you put the pieces out, or is it a fold-out board?
I believe it does have a modular piece to it. I will have to double check on that for you.
Okay, yeah. It looks like it does in the picture. It looks like it's got the octagon pieces just like
Shuffle
regular
around,
Catan. Because they have come out with a couple Catan games that were just a board where you couldn't change it.
I think that was primarily the timeline one, or whatever they called that. Like there's the Settlers of America, and the European one as well that had a set board. But a lot of that was because there's different parts of those individual games that actually change how the board works too.
Yeah, I really like this. This looks really cool. The wall is like a 3D element.
Yeah, it is. It's about an inch and a half tall, and you have to put your defenders on top of it as well. So it looks pretty cool as you're playing too.
That's cool. All right, what do we got next here?
All right, next game up we have is Photosynthesis. So this was a super popular game at Gen Con. Sold out almost immediately. The first print run that they came out with, I think it was less than a month after Gen Con. Could not get this game for a long time. They just got another print run through. We've got another stock of them in. Another game that visually just looks really good as you're playing it. Each player essentially has different colored trees that you're trying to grow, so you can see visually what you're controlling on the board. The other really neat thing about this is you have a sun piece that's going to be moving around the board. It's mechanically a fairly straightforward game. You're trying to grow resources, and you get those by having more trees out on the board that aren't obstructed. And as the sun moves around the board, you're going to collect different amounts of resources based on how tall your trees are, how small they are, and if they're blocked or unblocked. So it's a very kind of chess and checkers kind of game that you're playing with all the other players. And I've played this as a 2-player game, and I watched it played as a 4-player game as well. And it plays very differently in those situations. It's not bad in either one though, but it does play a little bit differently where you're looking at a one-on-one opponent versus, multiple opponents, as you're going to have to wait a turn or two before you get to do your action.
Now, from what I know about this game, you actually score points when your tree actually dies. And
right.
So
you, basically the whole theme is once your tree grows fully and dies, it's now regenerating or creating more resources for more trees to grow, so that's when you get victory points.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've seen him play this. I know the sun kind of casts a shadow over big trees, so sometimes your small trees can be in a shadow and you don't get resources for that for your next turn. And then there's also seedlings. So you actually start your trees from a seedling sometimes and build them all the way up to a full-grown tree.
Well, you have to start them as seedlings.
Yeah.
So they go from the smallest seedling. I think there's 3 or 4 stages of trees, and then you can harvest them, and that's when you get your victory points.
Cool. Yeah, this is a really beautiful game. I actually saw some people playing this at Gen Con, and just even from a distance, since with the 3D elements and everything, it really draws your attention when somebody's playing it.
It's a really, really fantastic looking game.
Yeah.
And it plays very well, and honestly, like, if you've got people, the first time you play, it's obviously going to take a little bit longer, but you can play through the game in about an hour. With 2 people, I think, uninterrupted, we would have done probably around 45 minutes or so. So it's a fairly reasonably quick play, but a lot of good strategy in there as well.
Okay, great. So what do we got?
All right, last one is not a new game by any means, but one that I wanted to bring up. This is Star Wars Imperial Assault. This has been around for a number of years now, actually, but they just released the companion app for it, which is kind of a big deal, because before now you either had the 1v1 skirmish, or you had the one versus many DM kind of situation where you had one person running the Imperials and a bunch of people running the Rebels trying to defeat them. You basically allow the app to take the place of that DM, and you can play with everybody you're playing with physically as the Rebels trying to compete against the Imperials. So,
if you're not familiar with the Imperial Assault, it's based on the Descent engine.
Correct.
And it was built off of that, and the app, there's actually a Descent app. So if you're familiar with the Descent app, the app for this is going to be very similar, which it just takes over the DM portion of the game and allows the players to push the app to tell them what's going to happen next, and it also controls the other side when it attacks them and everything.
So just like the Mansions of Madness app was the game I was thinking of, you can go into the game, go into the app, and just select the expansions you have, and then it'll randomly generate the map and the opponents based on what you have, not just the entire slew of everything. So you don't have to have everything to use the app. You can go through and pick and choose what's available, and it'll just regenerate new stuff for you.
This is a very popular game. I know a lot of people play this. I know I come here on Sundays sometimes, and PJ, a guy that comes here a lot, plays this with a lot of people. And so if you ever are interested in this, if you give these guys a call, I'm sure they could set up a demo for you guys to come and play. So
we've demoed it a couple times. I'm actually getting ready to start a new campaign with it, and I just finished a campaign a little while ago. It's a really fun game to play. Whether you like the Rebels or the Imperials, it's just a lot of fun to see how it plays out.
And all the miniatures are really awesome.
Tons of really great miniatures.
If you want to move an AT-AT around the board, this is your chance. So.
Yeah, and the figs for Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader come in the base box, is the other nice thing. So right away you've got some key figures in the Star Wars universe that you can have a lot of fun with.
All right, well, that's it for featured games today. If you guys are interested in any of these games, come on down to Titan Games or give Nick a call, and he'll set you up, right? Okay, until we see you guys again, happy gaming. This video was provided by The Lonely Gamer. To see more of our news, reviews, and videos, please visit us at lonelytabletopgamer.com.